and when single game tickets will go on sale. We'll be right back. It is a big night at CHS Field for the first time in nearly 2 years. The St. Paul Saints will host a full capacity crowd. The Saints are calling today's game a reopening day. All 7,210 seats on sale for the game against the Omaha Storm Chasers tonight. First pitch is set to be thrown out at 7 o'clock. The last time CHS Field had 100% capacity available was back in September of 2019. By the way, here's another thing Saints fans will get to enjoy this week. Twin stars Byron Buxton and Kenta Maeda will be starting their rehab assignments with the Saints as they work their way back from injuries. It's a bonus. The Twins return to Target Field today to face their most hated nemesis. The Yankees are in town for a series. It's the first time the Bronx Bombers have been in town since the 2019 season. That's when the Yankees, yes, once again eliminated the Twins from the postseason. The Twins are struggling right now, but players feel the season so far is far from being lost. Tyler Duffy believes if the Twins could just get healthy, they could also get healthy in the standings.
We've had a lot of moving pieces pretty much daily since day one, and I think everybody's kind of gelling together, and we feel good about where we're at. It's just, like today, like you said, we manufactured enough runs, and the pitching came in and closed the door. And I think once we keep clicking and are able to do that on a regular basis, then we won't have anything to worry about it.
When football season kicks off, expect a full house at U.S. Bank Stadium. Devoted Viking fans can't wait to get back, of course, and cheer on the Purple in person. The Vikings announced that 99% of season ticket holders have renewed their tickets for the upcoming season. The team remaining single game tickets available mid-July. Last year, all home games we know were played without any fans in the stadium, but that is going to change come this fall. Coming up, what started as a scary moment for one couple turns into a pretty sweet one. See some police officer answering the call of duty in a different way. That's still ahead here at 11.
He's going to be fine. My partner's standing by with him real quick.
There you go, Og 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Yeah.
Your attention, please. In the interest of aviation security, all passengers must control their bags and packages at all times. In order to prevent someone from placing dangerous items in...
Paging Ladrima Day. Paging Ladrima Day. Please meet your party at door number 4 of the baggage claim level.
Junior mic check. You mic check, check, check. Good.
Super. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for for coming out and helping us get the word out on another one of our vaccination opportunities. I'm going to thank Rick King and the airport authority out here, always there to make sure that people find the easiest way, whether it was to be tested. We were just discussing before the pandemic, we set up the site out here for Real ID, and now a vaccination site. A special thank you to Home Health, where's Avi and his team, and all of them, and then of course our vaccinators are here. Another opportunity, we've said it's going to be person to person, door to door, and in this case, flight to flight. If you're getting ready to fly, you haven't been vaccinated, J&J vaccine, safe, effective, no cost, in and out in 15 minutes and on your flight. I was pleased to hear that folks are taking advantage of this from all over the world. They said folks from Guatemala, from Iceland have taken it because it's easier to get here than it is at home. We want Minnesotans to get vaccinated to get to 70%, but COVID-19 is a global issue, and we're glad to do our part and help folks to do that. So the airport has been a great place. We know that there's incentives out there. We're a little over 68% of those 18 plus to that goal of getting 70%. And I think that all of us and those folks that are walking through here and going to places, me included, after all those years of flying back and forth to D.C. and going places, walking through the door of this great airport, this great international airport, the sense of we can go places again, we can do things again. This is what the vaccine brought us. So we're going to continue to offer these pop-up sites. We're continue to adjust to go from the big sites that'll be closing down today at the State Fair to pop-up sites right here in the terminal for folks to get vaccinated. So Rick, to your team, to Abdi, to that team, to Minnesota Department of Health, to all the folks that make this happen, and most importantly, to those Minnesotans, to those Americans, to those global travelers, thank you for taking the vaccine. Thank you for not only protecting you and your family's health, but thank you for protecting your neighbor's health. And again, it feels a lot better when you get on that plane to know the person next to you is vaccinated. And this is to make sure that everybody who wants to can do that. With that, I'm going to give it to the person who's next to me most of the time, Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Thank you, Governor.
Good to see you.
Well, good afternoon. I am super excited to be here and mostly to feel the buzz of being at the airport again. The energy here, I know that many of us have been here very early in the morning, maybe with cranky toddlers before we got on a flight, but super excited for summer vacations. And so I can't think of a better place to be to share the excitement of people getting vaccinated, of having folks here who are just so committed to making sure that more and more people can visit our state safely, can travel through our states, and this is how we do it, and this is how we get it done. I was sharing with some of our folks that, I look forward to the day when this no longer feels exciting and invigorating, but it has not, the feeling of anticipation of being at vaccination sites and hearing the stories about people getting vaccinated has not worn off yet. And while it's easy to maybe forget a toothbrush or an extra pair of socks, we make it super easy for folks to get vaccinated. Literally, as the governor said, walk right in, get your shot, wait for 15 minutes, and then be on your way. So we want to make it as easy as possible for folks across the state. And as a reminder, no payment is required, no insurance is required, no appointment. We want to make it easy. So this vaccination site literally offers hundreds of folks across the state who are coming through the airport every day the opportunity to get vaccinated. There are walk-in appointments available here and at sites across the state of Minnesota. We can get there, and we will get there as quickly as possible if people are stepping up to get vaccinated. It's so easy. So whether you're catching a flight or going to a sports game or find an extra half hour in your day, getting vaccinated is easier than ever, and we really want you to do it. And it matters. With high vaccine rates, there have been fewer cases, fewer hospitalizations, and fewer deaths, and fewer people whose lives are changed forever by this virus. So I'm excited to be here. I cannot wait to have a cranky 8-year-old coming through here at 7 o'clock in the morning on a way to a trip with my family. But one of the reasons why people have been able to travel safely and feel really confident about being here at MSP is Rick King, and I'm going to hand it over to him now. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. It's a great event here. It's such a pleasure for the airport to partner so well with the state and put up things like this pop-up vaccination center. Not only that, but the Real ID one that we put up back before the pandemic. Fantastic collaboration. My kudos out to the administration, particularly to the Health Department, Jan Malcolm, Commissioner, and all the hard work that they've done to make Minnesota the safest possible state that we can. We prioritize safety, security, and health in all that we do here at the airport. You'll see a clean, healthy environment where it's safe to come in, it's safe to go to the shops, it's safe to get on the airplane, and it's safe to go visit your family and friends after this long, long dry spell during the pandemic. So I'd encourage you to do that. These are great, great operations around the airport. There's 20,000 employees that work at the airport in all these shops that bring you food, that bring you beverages, that bring you news conveniences and apparel. Visit them, patronize them, and thank them for working through the pandemic as well. If there's anything else that we can do for passenger safety and comfort, we're on it. And we definitely appreciate the strong support from the governor, from the lieutenant governor, in supplying the airport with the absolute best opportunities that we have in this country. Thank you very much.
I want to introduce then, thank you, Rick, the partnership out here, and we know that this is truly an international location and always rated amongst the best airports in the world, and we're grateful for that, another opportunity of that. So it's appropriate that we have the airport's biggest supporter and cheerleader here in the Minnesota legislature with Representative Greenman. So.
Thank you, Governor. And this, welcome to 63B. This is my legislative district. And I really echo it is really great to be here. It's great to see all of you, and I think a lot of that is the work that, frankly, the leadership of the Walz Flanagan administration, the leadership of Minnesotans who went out and got vaccinated, and those who still have to go, that is why we are able to be here safely, and I'm just really grateful. As I think about the next, the work that we have to do, it is really the healthcare professionals, it's the Minnesotans, and it's the world travelers who are all showing up to get vaccinated. And so I will leave it at that. Just thank you. And for those Minnesotans out there who are still thinking about getting vaccinated, come to the airport or go to one of the pop-up centers or all of the community centers. It's really doing all of our work to fight this virus and to make sure that we can all be together here at the airport and everywhere else. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And every day we're one step closer. Today, Commissioner Malcolm pointed out that our number of cases is the lowest it's been in Minnesota, COVID cases, since March 27th of 2020. And at that point in time, that was about an 11% positivity rate as opposed to about a 1% positivity rate now. And she mentioned that we were then in March 27th, we thought there would be a big goal at that time that we would be able to test 2,000 people a day. And as many of you know, there was at points in time where we were testing 60 or 70,000 people a day. So we've learned much. We've been through much together. A lot of the things that we love to do, like travel and see our relatives and vacations and graduations and everything else, are now back in reach. We've got some more work to do. So I think folks maybe get a little tired of this, but I'm still going to hammer on folks to get this vaccine. We'll bring it to you. We'll make it easy. Let's push that number above that 70% number, and let's just get back to normal. With that, we'll be glad to take questions.
I would say that some of the things that we've done here are rather unique. When we did look at whether there was a licensing scenario in another state, we found one city that had done it with their airport authority. And I think the pop-up clinics are a little more popular, but still, we're really breaking new ground here for international airports. Federal doses or...
Anything else?
The question,
I'm sorry, I missed it.
it's
What's that?
They're from FEMA.
FEMA?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
They're from FEMA.
Where the doses came from. Like, I don't know.
Ann might have to answer that question. The question was about the closing of the state sites. The FEMA site at the state fairgrounds was a set time period. We then used up the J&J vaccines that will be closing today. So, Ann, maybe you can speak to. Yeah.
That's a great question. Today is the last day at the state fair that was supported by the DoD and FEMA. Some of the doses that we have left over, the Johnson & Johnson doses, are going to be used here at the MSP Airport. The rest of the state sites will remain open until we get to close to 70% or right around there. We're in it to make sure that everybody's vaccinated and we can open fully.
Thank you. Great. Yeah. We have to continue to vaccinate, and the ability to be able to do the vaccines, to use the pop-up clinics, to contract with home health care, the success rate that we've had is dependent on the authority in Minnesota law that has stood up every single time in the courts, and it has now become a talking point. Here in Minnesota, if you're not from Minnesota, we don't have business mitigations on right now. We are fully back open again because we're approaching 70% vaccination rates. Our test positivities and our ability to test is very high. With that being said, we've asked to get an eviction moratorium done. It's been 5 months. The legislature cannot move. Those were things to protect people who were put at risk by COVID-19, who had to stay home but couldn't be thrown out of their house. A lot of good studies that showed here in Minnesota the eviction moratorium being in place saved 2,000 lives, not to mention the countless people who economically would have been hurt. So we will renew the emergency executive authority on Monday, the same as it is in 45 other states, and what is basically left is the eviction moratorium that we've asked the legislature to take care of, emergency vaccinations procedures, and federal assistance through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and that's it. So we'll re-up it. I've asked the legislature again, do the eviction moratorium, and then get a budget done and leave Minnesotans alone then at that point. So yes, we'll do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the issue of post-pandemic crime and violent crime is not acceptable anywhere. The numbers are pretty typical across the United States. Here in Minnesota, unfortunately, we're seeing it both from Minneapolis to St. Cloud and elsewhere. And it's a complex issue that it involves a lot of different agencies. We are certainly working with those agencies when they request, working with community activist groups. We know that there's a lot of faith-based leadership that's out there on the streets, and I think a state streets initiative is something that we've been talking about and working on. I just want to be clear, moving the state patrol is a simplistic answer to a more complex problem. It also creates other problems. Traffic deaths on our state's highways are up to a high again. People started speeding after the pandemic. There's more folks out there, and for whatever reason, so simply shifting state patrol officers from Duluth to Minneapolis without a coordinated plan, and these jurisdictions, these local jurisdictions, whether it be City of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, Plymouth, Bloomington, St. Cloud, Mankato, they all have organizations where they work together in task force, especially around violent crimes, making sure you're gathering the best data. So we certainly agree that there's work to be done, but the idea, once again, of just throwing the state patrol, or worse yet, a non-policing agency like the National Guard, doesn't really get at the heart of this. And then I want to make note, we got to continue to work upstream to understand where are the guns getting onto the streets, where are the gang activities starting, how do we interrupt that and divert that, and how are we providing economic opportunities to make sure people don't end up there. So there's work to be done. It is a serious concern. I think the issue will be certainly a federal partner in this too at some point, and all of those things have to be coordinated around a cohesive plan. Listening to the communities, listening to the experts in this, because the public safety experts are not calling for just a increase in state patrol in Minneapolis. They're calling for a more comprehensive plan, which we'll work with them on. Sure. Well, no, and I think it's, again, it's subjective. The question is about the slowness now. We knew, if you recall, the day we announced there were vaccines, I said tomorrow, just like buying, Springsteen tickets, the system will be overwhelmed. There will be way more demand than there is supply, and then there will come a day where there's way more supply than there is demand, and we'll have to get out there and go door to door. So I think, as you're seeing this, 13 states have made it to 70%. Most of those tend to age. They have a higher age demographic. They're smaller states in many cases, and they're on the East Coast. We are right on the verge of being the 14th state to get there. So I think the pace, we would certainly like it to be faster, but there's no template for this. And what I would just say is, continue to ask people from the Mayo Clinic to every major health organization, to every folks who's out there, to talk to folks about this who's not there yet. We can't put your neighbors at risk. And I'm asking people to get the vaccine, to get out there and do it. The incentives, I don't know. We've had about 5,000 people, I believe, take advantage of these. Folks say they can get free state fair tickets. They can get $25 gift certificates. I think we'll just keep pushing them, and we'll keep going door to door. How are you?
While on MSP Airport property, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention also encourages face coverings along with keeping 6 feet of distance from others to help stop the spread of germs. Thank you for participating in our travel conference.
The question was around the budget, and just to be clear to all Minnesotans, we're in a fiscally sound place because of the hard work of Minnesotans, because of smart budgeting we put in 2 years ago, because of the American Rescue Plan, and because of the recovery of the economy. That we are going into extra innings, if you will, is an inability to compromise around issues. I understand with the only divided government in the country, state legislature, we're not all going to get what we want. The budget numbers were agreed upon in a universal agreement, and then there were some guiding principles. This question was about moving money from our public schools into unproven voucher program, if you will. I've made it clear that that's not going to happen. It wasn't part of the deal, and it wasn't agreed upon. In fact, it was very clear that it was not going to happen. Now when we're back negotiating again, that's coming back. So I just can't make it clear. We didn't get everything we needed. Our budget was meant to recover from COVID, first and foremost for our children in our schools, for our families, and for our small businesses. There is plenty of resources to focus on that. It's not the time to get into a lot of policy decisions, so we are not going to defund our public schools at this time, when especially those hardest hit need them more than ever. And in fact, I asked for 5 months for us to fund summer school, and we didn't get it till we got this universal deal and we put the money into it. So our students are getting back. We're starting to make sure there's mental health care for them, there's support for families, there's support in child care, and we start to return to normal. After 15 months of uncertainty, of global pandemic, of chaos, and all the other challenges, it is time to wrap up this legislative session, to reach a compromise, to get a fiscally strong budget. We have the strongest credit ratings in the country. We have reserves that are filled back up again. We have the capacity to do the things that most folks want to do, but we're not going to stop all that for ideological issues that aren't going to be solved this time. So I'm going to ask the legislature, get this done.
This morning, I understand you might reach out to President Biden about the shooting on the Uptown area. Today at a press conference asking for a resignation or annulment. Can you speak to that at all, please?
The question was concerning the task force in the shooting in Uptown last Thursday. This task force was made up and led by the U.S. Marshals Service. It consisted of Ramsey County, Hennepin County, one officer from the Department of Corrections, usually on fugitive warrants. I think there's concern from the community and there's concern from us that the federal government policies prohibited those folks from wearing, or at least there's certainly confusion about the ability to wear body cameras. And because of that, in a time, especially here in Minneapolis,
that people are very concerned about what happened at that, and they want to see the footage from that. It doesn't exist because they weren't wearing that. So I think the concerns that are being expressed by the community are valid. We've expressed them to the administration to understand why that's part of the procedure. And it's one of the reasons here that we need to continue to expand, because it's about building trust amongst the community. And most our law enforcement agencies want them to show that when they're acting in a responsible manner, in a lawful manner, that can be on tape, not to create confusion. So we're asking them to clarify that too. Sure.
Unrelated about the eviction moratorium.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, we'll do one more.
Okay. One more eviction moratorium, and then I will ask about the vaccine. Because I'm late. The okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we can craft our news conferences around when, no, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know how it works. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Eviction moratorium?
Yes, and then I'll shut up.
Well, again, a lot of these things need to be clarified, and I think we've run into this issue that certainly, unfortunately, COVID became very ideologically divisive. When that happened, the ability to be able to find some compromise. One of the things we did was, we being federally and by states, put an eviction moratorium that said folks who had to go home because they would have been put at risk of COVID in the early days wouldn't be evicted from their apartment. And then we went back and we created a program that allows us to fund and pay those landlords back. But we have to get an off-ramp out of that eviction moratorium so everybody's clear that this doesn't end in chaos and we don't have tens of thousands of people throwing out, or we don't have tens of thousands of landlords that didn't get paid. So trying to craft that off-ramp, in January, we asked the legislature to work together to find a compromise. The irony is now, that's basically the last thing we're doing through executive order, but the legislature has yet to bring a compromise together to get that off-ramp going. So I'm encouraging them to do that. We need to have that off-ramp off the eviction moratorium. It can be done protecting both tenants and landlords. It can be done in a responsible manner during COVID as folks are getting vaccinated. And it can be done now if the legislature would do it. So I'm still encouraging them to do it. I don't know why they haven't. So. No.
30-day continuing resolution. If you're getting down to the wire, June 30th, would you do a 30-day continuing resolution?
Yeah, no, I agree. And for everybody, for the press who's listening, who's involved with this, it's just not the way to do business, to get down to the end. These deadlines, everybody else has to do this. That pilot and those flight attendants are on that flight that's leaving at 3 o'clock. They don't get to randomly say, well, we're not happy with how this happened yet or whatever, and we're just going to wait for another month or so. I'm encouraging folks not to think these are hard deadlines. And just to be clear, once we move past the 15th of June, we have contracts that we have to start ramping down that are going to cost us massive amounts of money. We're going to have to start picking up the construction, which may make you happy in the short run on the highways, but then it adds cost to it rather than getting those contracts fulfilled. That's simply the law. So I'm not entertaining a continuing resolution. I'm not entertaining that this is, those who keep saying that these are soft deadlines. This budget, we released our budget on the 20th of January. And I recognize there are many things in there that I think would be good for the state that weren't going to be agreed to, so we threw them out. And now we're down to the bare bones that we can't let the perfect get in the way of the good. And I'm going to ask that we have this budget done, buttoned up, ready to go on the 14th. We do a special session next Monday. We button up the special session, and then everybody goes back home and complains that the other side got it wrong, and we get on with things. But here's the deal. Our schools will function, our roads will be built, our healthcare system will go on, our reserves will go in. All of that, just to be clear, is done with raising no more revenue, with many relief going especially to the middle class, and a budget that is, again, by the rating agencies, we're AAA credit rated and we're ready to move forward. So there's a lot of things that should be done. They're not going to be done in this session. We should button those things up and finish them. So You care if we go? Thanks, I'm kidding. Thank you all. Thanks, folks.
That's usually what I look like going through the airport.
I feel bad because it's at the airport. I'm sorry. I hope I know you're good natured.
It's hard to get